Hello bookish friends, and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi, and today we are going to be talking about the 11 books I read in the month of October. So October was a bit of a weird reading month for me. I definitely read a lot of books, but I didn't love a lot of them. Looking at the stack I have, there's not really one that stands out and I'm like, oh my god, one of my favorite books I've ever read, but obviously I have to choose a favorite for the month. I think I know what I'm gonna choose, and it's probably not gonna sound like this was my favorite book from the month. Oh, hello. It's not gonna sound like it's my favorite of the month when I explain how I felt about it and why I rated it, what I rated it, but it is the one that stands out to me the most and I still think about all the time, and I did enjoy it, regardless of what I'm gonna say. Okay, so let's not waste any more time and let's just get right into it. The first book I have here is the book I pulled for the Kindle prompt for October, and that is The Fourth Monkey by, who is it by? J.D. Barker? Yep, J.D. Barker. I rated this 2 stars. It started out so strong and I was like, wow, if this like continues this way, this could definitely be a favorite of the year. And then it got really fucking boring and I was like, I can't read this anymore. And it was over 400 pages and I was like, if I keep reading this, I'm gonna go into a reading slump. So I ended up DNFing it at 40%. And I went into this having such high hopes. I heard Beth Moverin talking about it and she was saying how it was one of her favorite thrillers. And she is like the queen of thrillers. So I picked it up. I instantly got the loan from my library on my Kindle, started reading it. In the first couple chapters, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Let's not have my vacuum in the background. I picked it up, started reading it, was loving it at first, and then I got to like 40% and I was like, okay, I am so fucking bored. And it was like the same stuff was going through this character's head. He was going through the same exact stuff and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm gonna DNF. So DNF that at 40%. The next book I have here, I listened to on audio, and that is First Light Wins by Ashley Elston. This was so good. I give this 4 stars. It wasn't like the perfect thriller ever, but it was so good, and honestly I don't even remember what happens with it because it's so chaotic the entire time in the best way possible. But it was just one of those books that when I was reading it I was so into it and just didn't want to stop listening to it, but once it was over I was like, okay, that was great, and don't remember anything about the plot. All I know is that this girl is kind of like a spy almost, and she kind of gets into like a fake life to kind of spy on this one guy. Everybody in this situation is lying. The male main character is not who you think he is either, as is the female main character. And from page 1 it starts off so strong and starts off with like what the fuck is happening. And I did end up giving this book 4 stars. Lighting is all over the place, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's get into the books that I physically have. The first one is Fantasma by Kaylee Smith, and this is definitely my favorite book from this month. Not because I feel like it was the best, but it still sticks with me and I can't wait to continue on in the series. I just hope it maybe gets a little bit better. This book follows our main character, Ophelia, finds her mom brutally murdered and her sister disappears, and she thinks she goes to Fantasma, which is this like haunted mansion that has a game every year. So she then enters Fantasma to see if she can find her sister. If you win Fantasma, you get like 1 wish that of anything you want. When her mom passes away, Ophelia realizes that her mom left them in a bunch of debt. There's some other things going on, and so I think Ophelia plans to use her wish if she wins to settle that debt and kind of be able to live a life that she wants. Says Fantasma only has 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. And what does Ophelia do? She falls in love. But the plot twist in this is what makes me love this book. But the romance in this is what makes me cringe. It is the corniest relationship I've ever read, but like, I don't know what it is, because sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. In this book, I just didn't like it at all. The male main character, the love interest, was like, I would go to the ends of the earth for you. And I was like, okay, we get it. And I don't know, they just like, the spicy scenes were also placed at the weirdest times for me. Like, not even in a point where I'd be like, yeah, I want them to have sex right now. It was kind of like, okay, they're having sex and I feel really weird about this. Like, why is it happening right at this time and moment? So that's why I only rated this 4 stars. But the actual plot itself, minus the relationship, is so good in this, and the plot twist I never saw coming. And when I read it, I literally was like, wait, what the fuck? So that is why this is my favorite book of the month, because it is definitely the one that shocked me the most. I was into it a decent amount of the time. I mean, this is a long book and I read this fairly quickly because I was so interested and intrigued to see how this story was going to continue. It was just the romance that threw me off. I couldn't do it, but did rate this 4 stars, and I will be keeping this book on my shelf. The next book is Wait Till Helen Comes by Mary Downing Hahn. This is like a young adult, young reader horror story. I could not get into this, even though it is a tiny short little book. I'm pretty sure I read 46 pages before I DNF'd this because it was just like Obviously I know it's a child's book, but it was just like too childish for me, and it was it was boring and I couldn't do it, so ended up DNFing this. I will not be keeping this. Next I have What the Hex by Jessica Clare. I absolutely loved this, and I loved the first book, which is What the Hex. I listened to this on audio. I highly recommend the audiobooks for these books. I was gonna say, I thought I rated this 5 stars. On Goodreads I rated it a 5-star because I didn't think 4-star was enough, but I did rate it 4.75, and you're probably like, well then how is that not your favorite book of the month? Because I expected to like this, and the plot was so basic and generic, and obviously you knew how it was going to end, that I was like, nah, that wasn't my favorite. Phantasma definitely was, but I really enjoyed this. This is Grumpy Sunshine, enemies to lovers, familiar witchy rom-com. I loved this. At first the main character, the male main character, was throwing me off because he said about Penny, our female main character, like, she's not pretty in a traditional sense, and I was like, what does that even mean? You're an asshole. But he was supposed to be an asshole, so that's why that happened. But I'm going to put this on my shelf for my friends and family to borrow. This next book, I'm not going to spend that much time reading it, and I'm literally going to tell you what I wrote for Goodreads. I have Fly By Night by Tara O'Connor. This is a graphic novel, a witchy graphic novel. I rated this 1 star. I absolutely did not like this. I'm not going to say hate because that's a strong word. But my review on Goodreads, word for word, is, I'm sorry, but this was terrible. There were 2 different plots going on, and it felt like 2 completely different stories. The first 250 pages of this were so boring, and the last 75 is where 99% of the plot that I was looking for happened. Obviously, it's a graphic novel, and they read really quick, but I found myself like, I don't think I can read another page of this, but I was like, bitch, it is a graphic novel. You should just push through and finish it because they don't take that long. Honestly, I wish I never read this, so this is definitely not staying in my house. Next, I have Come Closer by Sarah Grant. Again, another short little novella. I thought this was okay. It's basically from the perspective of a woman who is being possessed by some sort of ghost, demon, devil thing. I liked it because it was from the perspective of the person being possessed, and I liked how she was talking about like blackouts and stuff, and just being like, oh, well, I was cutting vegetables, but then I woke up 6 hours later and I had blood and a knife in my hand, and it's like, wait, what? All in all, I do think this was pretty boring, and for the entire plot, not the entire plot I should say, but for the big plot twist, it literally happened in the last like 5 pages, and I was like, okay, I know this is 145 pages, but like we could have gone a little farther with the plot. So I ended up giving this 2.5 to like a 2.75 star, and this is definitely being donated. Next, we have another DNF, sadly. I was really hoping to like this. This is Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson. Obviously, Chris and I went to Hawaii for our honeymoon, so when this came out and it's talking about a history-making eruption is about to destroy the Big Island of Hawaii, which the Big Island of Hawaii was my favorite place we've ever been in the entire world. So when I saw this, I was like, yes, like I'm gonna love reading about that because I've been there. I mean, obviously I don't want anything to destroy the Big Island of Hawaii, but I was like, maybe I'll really like this. And I liked how there was like a map of the Hawaiian Islands. But this was way too brainy and way too smart for me. I actually got the audiobook from my library, and I don't know if that's what contributed to me DNFing it and not being able to understand, but I just like, this was sciencey, and it was like numerical, and I just was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't do it. I listened to 40% of this, but the entire time I was listening, I had no idea what was really going on. So fortunately DNF'd this, but I am gonna give this book to my dad because he was saying he wanted to read it. Next, I have another book that I just don't fucking get the hype behind, and that is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. This was so boring. This was the type of miscommunication that drives me absolutely insane in a book. Like, these 2 people are fucking adults, and instead of like communicating and talking about their feelings and what they're thinking, feeling, doing, everything, it drove me crazy that they wouldn't just like fucking talk to each other, and they both kept running away like little babies. I sound really harsh, but honestly that's exactly how I felt reading this. I started reading this physically and then switched to the audiobook because it was on sale, but like I couldn't do this. It was just so, it drove me so crazy how annoying these 2 main characters were. And to call this book a spicy book is a absolute insult to the romance spicy world. Having pretty much like 2 sex scenes where she's just touching surface level of what's happening in the sex scene is not a spicy romance. Like, I picked this up and it said a small town spicy romance, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be spice all throughout. It is literally the last couple of chapters, and it's not even spice. Like, it's pretty much like you're looking through the crack of the door spice. So I did not like this. I gave it 2 stars. I don't know what gave it the extra star. I should have rated it 1 star, but I liked the cozy vibes of it, so I guess that's why I gave it the 2 stars, but I'm definitely donating this or seeing if my mom wants it. That might be a book from my mom. I don't know. Next, I have another DNF. I'm telling you, it was a weird reading month. Now that I'm looking at all these books, it definitely was not my best reading month. I don't have any 5 stars and I don't have any like books that wowed me. But I have Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, and you're probably like, Lexi, you loved The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I definitely did, but I don't know what it is about this book. I just could not care. I started reading it physically. I probably read 65 pages physically and then tried the audiobook and just did not care. I don't know what it was. And I was really enjoying the audiobook at first because the narrator for the audiobook did like different voices for each child that lived in this house. And I loved the voices that the narrator did. I just like couldn't care what was going on with these two again. So I don't know, I'm really sad about it. I'm definitely not gonna get rid of this book just yet because I might try again at some point. But honestly, I'm the type of person where once I attempt to read a book and I don't like it, I will never try to go back to it again, you know? It's kind of like you're a one and done for me, but I will keep it for now. And then the last book I have is such a fucking weird one, and I finished this last night, and that is Little Stranger by Lee Rivers. This is the darkest romance I've ever read in my entire life, and I don't think I'll ever read anything like this ever again because I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is about our main character, Malachi, and Olivia, who are foster siblings, so they're not really blood related, but they grew up as brother and sister, and Malachi is completely obsessed with Olivia. Olivia is in love with Malachi. They like hook up to like teach Malachi how to do stuff with girls. He also is mute and doesn't talk. He just signs with his hands. And he's very possessive, very like into S&M and weird shit and dark shit, and it is just, I don't know. It was very strange, but I also kind of was rooting for them at the end. It's like the craziest thing ever. This was definitely the weirdest reading experience I've ever had. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, but I was like, I can handle a lot of deep dark shit, but this was like next level of deep dark. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this book because I don't really know if other people should read it. If you're sensitive to things, definitely don't read it. I'll probably put this on my shelf for my friends and family to borrow, but like if somebody is looking at it, I will say, just know you're getting into some really crazy shit. Did I say I rated this 3 stars? Rated it 3 stars. That is my reading wrap up for the month of October. Please let me know if you like these kinds of videos because I can definitely keep doing them or I can just stop doing them altogether. I don't particularly love watching wrap ups, but I'm getting more into it to see like what people thought about books and if I should try those books. But let me know your thoughts on these kind of videos in the comments below. Let me know how many books you read in the month of October and which was your favorite. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and you hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.